Modificator Casper, who, if you're not familiar with, is a console and controller technician. 20 years of practical service. He's in Poland. And he has a banger post here that should concern every single PlayStation 5 owner. He said, PS5 myth busted. A PS5 Slim CFI 2016 console, which is less than 1.5 years old, and has been standing vertically since purchase, is in for service and has the same problem. Visible on the APU core are dried out and oxidized liquid metal remnants. The liquid metal has formed a patch/clump, completely losing its thermal properties. This is why Sony introduced the major cooling change, deeper grooves, ridges, to prevent leaks and dry spots in the PS5 Pro. And they silently upgraded later CFI 2100s and 2200s and CFI 2116 slim batches. They are actively fixing this persistent flaw, meaning that Sony themselves knows that there is a leakage issue of the liquid metal that will destroy the console if not fixed properly. And without telling anyone, they just quietly fixed it behind the scenes and sold new versions of the console, knowing that every single one of those consoles that was sold previously is going to have an issue in the future. Conclusion: console position, vertical/horizontal, does not prevent liquid metal degradation. The fault affects even the newest year-old revisions. The main cause is application quality and degradation over time/temperature. All PS5 consoles, regardless of model, will eventually require professional maintenance. This is the red ring of death all over again. This comes to us from WCCF Tech. All PS5 consoles will eventually require maintenance. PS5 liquid metal degradation can reportedly impact all systems. Among the technical solutions Sony implemented in its PS5 to enable the system to reach maximum performance without issue is a liquid metal cooling solution, which helps keep temperature down when the system is pushed to its limits, which I've noticed as well when I play my PS5. Holy crap, does that thing get hot and start cranking? So yeah, they probably needed to find something different than previous generations. This cooling solution, however, led to significant issues, as the liquid metal can leak and leave dry spots on critical components, resulting in various malfunctions. Although Sony made some changes for the PlayStation 5 Pro and some of the latest base console models, liquid metal cooling issues can still affect systems, potentially even all of them, according to a technician. Over on X, modder and service technician Modificator Casper shared a new report on the PS5 Slim, the CFI 2016 system, with less than 1.5 years of life, which is crazy, by the way. I still have a day one PlayStation 5 console. I do not play it regularly. I used to, but now I've gone more to PC and Switch 2. And when I do play my PS5, typically it's on my PS Portal. So it still uses the system, but in a different way. But even that has been limited. It still works, though. I do fire it up from time to time for various reasons. My son still plays it. No issues whatsoever yet. And it's a launch version of the console. So they're already having issues with consoles that are less than 1.5 years, which is crazy. I do keep mine in good temperature, good conditions, so that might have something to do with it as well, which have been impacted by liquid metal issues. In this case, however, the liquid metal leak wasn't caused by the system's position, but by the application quality and degradation over time and temperature. As such, the service technician believes all PlayStation 5 systems will eventually require maintenance, regardless of the model and its position, which makes me wonder if there's any kind of recall situation, or like how Sony's going to handle this. if they're going to have a class action lawsuit, if they're going to fix them for free for a certain amount of time, akin to what happened with the Red Ring of Death with the Microsoft Xbox 360, or if they're just going to try to ignore this and hope it goes away, because this is going to be upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damages and fixes on their hands right now. If this is true, this is crazy. Here are the pictures that are shared by him, by the way. Let me bring them up one by one to showcase them. That's the screw taken out. That's the peeled liquid metal there. Whoa. Wow. Okay. While the claim that all PlayStation 5 models will eventually require maintenance is bold, it is undeniable that the liquid metal issues have affected a lot of systems. Earlier this year, Aldrin Games founder Matthew Castles highlighted how these issues are becoming more widespread, with an increasing number of users reporting various malfunctions in the past few months. And that was this article here. PlayStation 5 liquid metal issues could cause many consoles to die in a couple of years, as more users are reporting problems over time. This was on June 25th, 2025. So this is not a new issue. It's just being brought to the forefront of it's serious now. As most current reports of the PlayStation 5 units malfunctioning due to liquid metal issues involve older systems, it will take some time to determine if the new liquid metal TIM layout of the newly released CFI 2100 model has been accompanied by improved application to prevent degradation over time, as it should with leaking issues. This is very important information for people that are potentially in the market for a PlayStation 5 in the used market. Just reading this article and that tweet, I would steer the fuck clear of any PlayStation 5 that is not on a store shelf right now. I would not buy one used ever, because this is going to be a massively expensive problem to fix if no class action lawsuit is brought up against Sony, and if they do not proactively try to resolve this themselves. But it sounds to me that this is going to turn into a major story, because it's already affecting a lot of people, and now we have proof backing up that it's happening even more. Like I said, this was the previous story on June 25th, 2025. And they said even in that story, the previously reported PlayStation 5 liquid metal issues are becoming increasingly widespread. And many units, especially launch units that are out of warranty, could die in the next couple of years. So even if it's out of warranty, by the way, companies can do people a solid, usually to avoid lawsuits and class actions, like Microsoft did with the Xbox 360. They were out of warranty. They still would recalibrate them and fix them on the house for a certain period of time. It was the same thing with the drift issue with the Switch controllers. It was the same issue with Nintendo's done it with multiple systems over the years. I remember even going back to all the way to the original Game Boy, when you get the yellow lines on the side of it, Nintendo would fix that for free if you sent it into them back then. So typically these companies would repair things for you on the house if it becomes a major problem. But again, we haven't heard anything from Sony yet. And I would expect that if this does become a major story, that these outlets are going to start reaching out to Sony for comment. And I'd be very curious to see what Sony has to say about that. They said, speaking on the latest episode of More Law is Dead, Broken Silicon podcast, Aldrin Games founder Matthew Castles highlighted how the system's critical flaw is causing the liquid metal used for cooling to drip down the bottom of the console when placed vertically. Now, this new story right now, because they're saying when it was vertical, they're saying it doesn't matter either way. Now, mine has been laying flat horizontally, so I thought I was in the clear. Sounds like, based off this new information, that I'm not, and that no matter who you are, if you're one of the original buyers of a PlayStation 5 or bought one years ago during the pandemic or anything like that, or even post-pandemic, depending on when the new issued versions came out, that your PlayStation 5 will eventually die. It might be a year and a half, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, but eventually it'll go. And it's going to be a crazy situation when this starts picking up. On the original tweet from Modificator, he's responding to some people that said, but that one does not have the grooves like PS5 Pro does. And he says, yes, it look the sum. Okay. Buddy Myth isn't busted by one console test, lol. Talking to a guy who repairs consoles for a living. Mate, make a lot of them. I work on the service center. We fix only consoles and controllers. FYI, I know the problem you're talking about, and I believe it exists, but there needs to be more than one test, mate, as in you and at least 4 other people from different regions. I mean, this sounds like cope, bro. This sounds like cope. He's telling you, as a professional who fixes these, that he sees this happening on multiple systems over and over again. I'm going to take his word over a dude on the internet. It's like, how do you know anything? Harry T says, I had a PS5 from day one until I sold it to get the Pro again on day one. In 5 years, I never had hardware issues on either console. You may end up with faulty product, but chances are in the region of 1%. That's why the warranty exists. And I always extend warranty 3 years. In 2025, we had many PS5 consoles with overheating problems. A large part of these consoles were used by a player who had more than 250 to 539 days max played on these consoles. It is possible that if you don't play, it's hard to notice the problem, which, again, for someone like me, I'm barely playing my PS5 these days. So I haven't really noticed any issues with it. I play my PS5 quite regularly, 3 to 4 times a week. I have 400 hours of playtime this year alone, 0 overheat issues with 2 different consoles. You also exaggerate the few users who have had problems versus the millions of people with no issues whatsoever, which, by the way, a fair point. A fair point. They've sold a hell of a lot more PS5 consoles out there than people I've heard having issues with them currently. But he's saying they're basically akin to a ticking time bomb of eventually they're all going to stop working. Kind of like the Virtual Boy, how the eye visors with the glue would just eventually just pop off of them and they wouldn't function anymore and they'd have to be resealed. The same thing people write online about stick drift, that the problem doesn't exist. You just play enough to notice the problem. Summarize, if there is a player who plays less than 60 days a year, the problem will be rather difficult to notice. By the way, 400 hours is only 16 days of playing for a period of 5 years. You would have to play over an average about 12 minutes and 37 seconds a day. It's hard for even the PS5 to reach its highest temperatures. P.S. Today, I have a controller purchased from us, which has more played days this year than you play alone in 5 years. Backpedal, Brame. Again, it sounds like he's being just genuine with the information that he has on hand as far as being the guy that repairs these consoles. He might just be doing this to get attention and to try to call issues to something that isn't a problem. But based off of just the information that I have available and what I've seen with consoles in the past, I would not buy a secondhand PS5 right now. But we'll see what happens in the future. I'll keep you guys posted on any updates. But for now, I'll leave that one there.